Times is starting this morning and says 2.3 million in private hands. That's illicit arms. 2.3 million of them are in private hands. The story is captured on page 15. And then Adema chief gunned down. Another story there related to the illicit arms in private hands. And then two organizations seek support for Asiedu-Dartey children. We'll talk about that deeply later on. The Daily Guide says 2 killed in term explosion. Rawlings Hills NPP. It is consistent and let us build a new Africa, says Nana Addo, the president. Then Heritage says rot at Tepa Midwifery College exposed. Authorities make millions through fake receipts. Health Ministry seeks documents to take action. The National Forum says CPP at 68. Can she rise? That's a big question there to the finder. BNFT says slavery on the sea is a scary tale of deep sea fishermen. That's the banner story. The finder, progressive leadership critical. President Akufo-Addo charges African leaders at G20 summit. And we need holistic approach to combat child labor. Chief of Staff there talking. And the Chief Justice appointed or nominated to be vetted by Parliament, we're told on June 19. The Interior Ministry is assuring swift action against mob justice, a story captured by the finder. The Daily Graphic, 12 on police wanted list for the alleged roles in murder of Major Mahama. A photograph of one Yamankwa alias Bula, the man believed to have fired at Major Mahama. The president here, depart from mindset of 8, Akufo-Addo tells African leaders. And the explosion kills 2 at Pania Food Cannery, page 16. That's where the story is. The Statesman says Akufo-Addo challenges Africans. Assume responsibility for your country's transformation. All right. Now, these are some of the newspapers here. My guest this morning, Member of Parliament for the Agboja constituency, Adaklu constituency, Honorable Kwame Agboja is here with me. Kwame, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. And then to my immediate left is the Member of Parliament for the second constituency, Honorable Ejapamesa. Good morning too.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm well.
Thanks so much for joining us. Now, let's quickly start with this story on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, because it is linked to several other stories. We're told that illicit arms, 2.3 million of them, are in private hands. The same paper carries another story. Adema chief gunned down, and also 2 organizations seek support for the Asiedu-Dartey kids. These are all stories related to illicit arms. Now, the story says that about 2.3 million unregistered arms are currently in circulation in the country. A report by the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons has revealed that. Now, this represents an increase of 850% from a baseline study that estimated that about 240,000 illicit arms existed in the country in 2004. Now, to keep the guns out of the hands of people with history of mental illness, drug addicts, domestic abusers, terrorists, and convicted felons, the Commission said we need to conduct mental screening and analysis of all applicants before approving gun applications. It will also undertake background checks of all gun sales and possession to track the whereabouts and use of all arms and light weapons. And so that's a story here related to the Adema chief who was gunned down, we're told, in his room coldly. Kwame, let me begin with you. Anytime we're running into an election year, the issue of illicit arms in private hands get a lot of commentary. And then, as soon as we're through with the elections and we think all is safe, we go to sleep about it. Now, today we are being told that 2.3 million illicit arms are in private hands. I am not sure whether the talk about these arms in the build-up to the 2016 elections will have been able to achieve anything by way of reducing the number in private hands. But is there a way we can deal with this problem once and for all?
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share this platform with my colleague. And good morning to your cherished viewers across the country, especially those from the Adaklu constituency. Well, I agree with you with regards to the how many times we talked about this issue about illicit guns and other things. And indeed, it becomes much more pronounced when we are running towards elections. And after the election, it appears to go down. I think obviously everybody knows it's illegal to own or possess a firearm without authorization. And I don't know how else we can deal with it. But the question I want to ask is this. Is this just a way of the people in charge of controlling this, drawing our attention to it so that we can do more to bring it under control? And what are they doing? Because there's one thing just complaining, which is what I can see now. I haven't heard much about what they're going to do effectively to remedy this. But is this part of the reason we are all feeling insecure this morning in this country? No. He talked about how we should change the law to make it such that those who apply to acquire guns go through mental. I would have thought that would have been a normal practice, because you don't go and give a firearm to somebody who is not mentally sane. In fact, they are not even supposed to vote, let alone own arms. So I think that one, I'm not sure what the law says exactly in terms of who can own arms in that particular section. But if it's not part of the existing law, I mean, they should hurry up and bring it. But the point I'm trying to make this morning is, I am not aware the police have got any record of the number of murders in recent history based on people who are mentally ill but have arms. I am not aware that is where we are going towards. I rather suspect that these are people who know what who are very much aware of what they are doing. So just to leave it on the doorsteps of people who don't have the mental capacity to effectively use firearms may be far-fetched. Secondly, I think the country and the agencies involved should do more in terms of making us secure, and it's not only about guns. And because I know in recent times, many of these things that are happening, many of them don't even involve firearms per se. I was alarmed this morning when I read part of the section of the news when a DCE says she can't go to work because she doesn't feel safe. And I'm asking, a DCE even have police protection. If a DCE, who is part of the executive, doesn't feel safe to come out of a house and go to work this morning, how about me? How about you? How about ordinary people? So the state of insecurity we are talking about is no more or no longer an issue for discussion by only politicians. Everybody is feeling it now, and sadly even the executive are feeling it. And I'm urging the commander-in-chief to take action. This thing that we have been talking about, part of what you read suggests that the interior minister is saying they will stop mob justice. He was in parliament, a statement was read. He says that's the end of it. Last Friday, the vice president says that the death of Major Mahama would mark the end of this level of impunity. No, the following day, the week in which we are, another group of hoodlums are internally misbehaving on the same pretext. The same group with the same mindset are preventing a confirmed DC from going to work. What exactly is it going to take for the president to take full control, personal control, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and make me feel safe, and make my brother feel safe, and make you feel safe? It's not about beautiful English, strung without flawlessly. That is not what we need in this country. We need the president to take control. I don't feel safe, and I'm saying it. When the police, as I'm hearing, turned up in my village misbehaving some time ago, and I said it on this platform, people were questioning me. Perhaps I was just lucky that nothing happened. But what is happening to the rest of the people? So I'm not sure if he's back. Whenever he's back, Mr. President, we don't feel safe. Not even your DCs feel safe. What are you going to do about it?
I'm grateful. Honorable Mesa, the issue of illicit arms and insecurity, that's where I think Kwame is trying to draw the link. We're told that 2.3 million of them are in private hands. And so efforts are being made to retrieve them. But the signals that it sends suggest that these arms could be used in causing some mayhem around.
Well, good morning. Good morning to my colleague, and of course, good morning to your cherished viewers, particularly those in my constituency, 2nd D. I shared Kwame's sentiments largely until he tried to play politics with this matter of small arms in private hands. Of course, going ahead to create this false sense of insecurity in this country, as if to say this country is in some turmoil. Of course, there are isolated incidents of mob action here and there, which is not new. He shouldn't pretend as if he just came from Mars and that all of a sudden he's come to realize some mob injustice or justice, whichever way you want to put it, in this country. Nobody is justifying mob action. Of course, I mean, I will not sit here to play politics with such serious matters, particularly relating to the murder of this young military officer and the incidents that we are hearing about this police officer and all that. I don't know the particular situation under which this DC, who is the head of the District Security Council, would make such assertions that she feels unsafe. I've not seen the story. I don't know whether you've seen it.
A group of people who didn't want her as the chief executive and who tried all they could to stop her have threatened her.
Absolutely.
Not to step
So
in her
if that is the
or
case,
else they will deal with her. So she's unable to go to her
she
office.
needs
That's the story.
to use the proper process in ensuring that these people are arrested. There's a police people in her district. Issues of people opposing DC nominees or appointees is not a current phenomenon.
This is a confirmed
DC,
DC,
yes,
not
of course.
appointee.
Yes,
she's
been confirmed by the assembly. But of course, during the process of the appointment, some people at all times, all year on year, oppose people who are nominated and subsequently appointed as DCs.
It's not new to this government. It happens all the time.
Yes, it happens all the time.
Please allow him.
It happens all the time.
No,
and so
are you
these people should be brought to book. No, I'm not justifying it. I'm saying that the sense that Kwame sought to portray, this false sense of insecurity in this country, and cited this instance of DCE, who is part of the executive, as feeling unsafe, such that he feels unsafe to have driven from his house to come and sit in this studio to partake in this discussion, is what I'm indicating, that he should not tread on that part at all.
We should not
it
be
doesn't
worried
help all of us.
If the
we should be
representative
worried.
of the president cannot go to his office because he's threatened, I hope that is not what you're suggesting.
The police are there to ensure that these things are not happening. And I'm not, look, we are a country of rules.
So if the police are not acting, who is to blame?
The police.
If they are not acting, who is to blame?
Their command. The police
if the
have
command
a command.
Isn't acting, who is to blame?
Why are you going to blame you or me or the president for that situation?
No, I'm asking you that the police works
These
under
are people
if they are not
are
unable to
supposed
protect this DC to go to her work,
then they don't have business being there in the first place.
So who has to take that business of getting them out where they
There are structures and institutions in this country. We cannot attribute everything to the doorstep of the president. There is a police command in this country who are paid to do a particular job.
If they don't do
and if they are not doing it, they ought to be fired.
So who has to do the firing?
The president has to do the firing, ultimately. But you can't take, what I'm saying is that, you see, let's not play politics with everything in this country. Yes, it is unfortunate, and we ought to encourage the police to do their job in all instances, and not play politics and claim to as if to say there's some chaotic situation in this country that calls for some action that is not known in this world.
I'm trying. Now, what do we do? A district chief executive cannot go to her office. What has to be done?
The police have to step in.
She's been confirmed for the past, I think, a week or two. She's unable to go to her office. The police is there, and yet she can't go. What has to be done?
She's in charge of security, even in the district.
She has to use the appropriate channels to ensure that this that's not of course. If the district police is not working, there's a regional police command, and there's a national police command.
Who are saying that won't let her go to office are political party activists?
Not necessarily. They are not necessarily political party activists. DCE appointees, there are problems all the time. Even in some instances, depending on the tribe that she comes from, other people oppose such appointments. It is not entirely the case that they are political actors who are opposing.
But you won't rule out that.
No, it's not. I cannot rule it out. I don't know the details, but I mean, it's not peculiar. I mean, let's not create the impression that it is only under this administration that we've had issue as a country with district assembly.
No, that is not.
Chief
What we're
executive
saying,
appointees.
what we're dealing here is the DC of Salaga who is unable to go to her office. So the key thing is that you think the police must work.
Absolutely.
But if the woman is unable to go to her office, the police isn't working. Do we just sit still and watch it?
No. That's why I said that she ought to use the appropriate channels to make sure that this situation does not persist. And if the district command is not working, there's a regional police command, there's a national police command. She ought to bring it to the attention of the law enforcement agencies to ensure that this situation does not persist. That's what has to be done.
Honorable Mesa, I'm glad you said you don't know the story, but this is the rep of the president who's been confirmed for 1 solid month. The state would have to pay her, and yet she's unable to work. And the police are there, and the police is unable to get her to go to work. Which
why is the
channel
police
again?
Why is the police unable to go?
Well,
unable to allow her go to work?
I should be asking her because she.
Yes, so let's ask her why that situation is the case. But this cannot in any way be attributed to the presidency at all.
No, it's not an attribution to the president. We're asking that what should happen.
Institutions of state should work.
The police should work.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Why
so
one thing
is she not the one who sits on top of that institution?
I'm not sure that in the scheme of things she is the police commander in the district.
She's not,
or the region.
but the district security.
Yeah, but the
committee,
district security committee.
So she's at the top.
Yes, of course.
So,
but there's a regional. There is a regional security council which superintends over the district.
I see.
So she has to make sure that this situation does not persist.
You asked the question. You see, the reason this I agree with him that issue of security in this country is not necessarily political, but the truth is that by our constitution, the safety of citizens in Adaklu today would rely on who the DC is. Now that we don't have a DC, that can defer to the president. That can defer to the regional minister naturally. But in a district that we have a district chief executive, that is the case. I'm also clear that this is not the first time people choose DCs and some people say they don't like it. But when you have a situation where even the president's representative for national security appointment in Ashanti region, for instance, was prevented from going to work, hoodlums went and forced him out of office. And I'm asking you, if the national security,
the gentleman as we speak is at post.
Assuming
he is.
What I'm saying is that, assuming I, as a member of parliament, I don't have police protection on anything. The state doesn't provide that for me. If I have a problem with security in my constituency or district, I have to call the district chief executive or the police.
Why do you have to call the district chief executive? Is she a law enforcement officer?
Oh, I'm saying that if I
it's
have
the police that you have to.
Yeah, hold on. Let me tell you. Let me tell you
want to play mischief. That's why you are dancing.
Okay, let me put it this way. If I have concern about insecurity in my district, I need to call upon the district chief executive because the police are under her. This is the case. The police, the district chief executive, I probably turn up in his house, her house. You tell me, even herself can't go to office. How is she going to deal with it? If this party, if MPP pretends that these hoodlums, this level of insecurity is not squarely in the bosom of their party, then they are pretending. Because were there ordinary people who went and forced the regional security coordinator appointed by the president in Kumasi? Are the people who are preventing this DC from working, can he tell me that he suspects the NDC people who are doing that?
No, there could be any other person.
There couldn't be NDC people because NDC, when we know that it is a prerogative of the government to appoint a DC, so whoever they appoint, we work with. And I'm saying that to pretend for the first time that issue of insecurity in Ghana should be a shared responsibility. No, there's a commander-in-chief. Otherwise, I can tell you what I'll do now. Do you think I can go and command the police in Adaklu to do something now? I don't have that right by the constitution. The DC has got. The person who can order...
The president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Police Service.
No, the president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces.
Everything has nothing to do with the army.
Who says the president can fire the chief, The police commander.
Of course, but he's not a commander-in-chief of the Ghana Police Service.
Okay, so what you are saying is that the security of this country relies in, as you take responsibility for mine.
All right, let me be honorable Messiah.
My brother, we feel secure and it's the job of the president to deal
needlessly with every situation in this country.
Come in on this. What
nobody
countenances
is lawlessness. Nobody. And I would condemn lawlessness unreservedly. In any shape or form.
No, punish them.
By whichever actors.
Punish them.
Of course, people were arrested in the Kumasi.
It's not good to condemn. It's only good to condemn and leave it.
No. But action is supposed to be taken by appropriate agencies of state. You don't expect anybody, political actors, to take the role of institutional agencies and perform those functions for them. We all ought to call our security services to ensure the safety of this country. And when people are not doing their job,
so do it.
We should ask them to do their job.
No, not ask them.
If the Interior Minister could announce that government is taking over the piece of land at Nkonya Alavanyo because of the conflict, can the same Interior Minister take action in this case of the Salgadisi?
Of course. I mean, if it's brought to his attention.
Because you said that no political actor should take over.
The president himself is a political actor.
Don't misconstrue
please then explain yourself.
The Minister of Interior has overall responsibility over the Ghana Police Service and other allied agencies, fire service and other related institutions. So, of course, if this is brought to his attention, he has to ensure that the proper channels...
It's been 1 month.
1 month to what?
Since the lady was confirmed.
But it was only today that this issue came into the news.
So you and I
are not aware that
to say that he got to know of it today.
But
1 month.
I'm not aware of it today. Of course, I'm not the Interior Minister, so you don't expect me to know everything that is happening in all corners of this country at any particular time. But I'm saying this has only come to the fore today. And that's why we are discussing it today. If it came up last month, I'm sure we would have discussed it, and this matter would have been dealt with.
No, we don't have to. It doesn't have to be dealt with when we discuss
it. In wrapping up on this one, Kwame's argument is that, coupled with these actions that we see and the fact that we have 2.3 million illicit arms in private hands, he thinks that there is some state of insecurity. Wrap up on this one.
I don't think there's any sense of insecurity in this country at all. I mean, there are isolated instances of lawlessness. That is why we have a law enforcement agency. Lawlessness is not new in this country. There's absolutely no justification for it. I know that the government does not countenance any lawlessness from any quarter, whether they are party persons or not. And that anybody who flouts the law should be dealt with the full rigors of same. Of course, I indicated that I share his sentiments regard to the spate of illicit arms in private hands. And I believe that the institutions that are mandated by law to regulate this thing should up their game and ensure that these things do not get out of hand.
All right, let's stay with the Ghanaian Times this morning. Link the story to what's on the finder. Two organizations seek support for the Dinchirabuase children. Two organizations have appealed to the government to find ways to support children at Dinchirabuase in the central region where the late Major Maxwell Mahama was lynched. According to the Trade Union Congress and the Ghana Coalition of NGOs on the Rights of the Child, some of these children are on the run, some stranded, while others lived in fear, hunger, and psychological trauma as their parents have abandoned them. This was a call made at the National Policy Deba held in Accra yesterday to mark this year's World Day Against Child Labor on the theme, in conflicts and disasters, protect children from child labor. Now, the finder carries a story where it says that we need holistic approach to combat child labor. That's according to the Chief of Staff. The story on page 11 says that the government has noted that in view of the many dimensions to child labor in the country, there was a need for a holistic approach towards eliminating all worst forms of child labor in Ghana by 2025. The Chief of Staff has called for mobilization of resources for the implementation of a second phase of the National Plan of Action against all forms of child labor. That's the Chief of Staff talking there. Let's begin from Dinchirabuase. Honorable Mesa, some level of apprehension against the community, Dinchirabuase. Some have even suggested that the community be totally wiped out. Now, this is certainly not or won't be good for a society like Ghana that we need to, despite all that has happened in that community, leave that community to its fate. That is not what we should be asking for.
Absolutely, and I agree with you entirely. We should not be calling for a wipeout of the community merely because some miscreants took the law into their own hands and committed this atrocity against this young military officer. I mean, of course, these children have become victims of circumstances, and I think that we as a country should not abandon them at all. We should deploy our social safety network mechanisms to ensure that they are adequately catered for, because they played no role in the murder of this military officer. Of course, I never had the stomach to watch the tape, and so I don't know whether there were children involved, and I vowed never to watch it because such heinous acts. I particularly did not endorse the mass distribution of the tapes on social media, and but of course we are where we are, and persons who have had to suffer as a result of the actions of course, some of them, it's entirely possible that their parents were not even involved, but because of the police and military soup in the community, they have had to abandon ship, and unfortunately may have left their children behind. Of course, when situations like this occur, I don't know whether I will have the guts to leave my children behind, but I guess they had to take care of themselves first. And so the call is in the right direction. These organizations' call is in the right direction. We should make sure that adequate provision is made for these children who have suffered through no fault of theirs. Of course, relation to the child labor issue, that's a very dicey one, you know, but there's no denial that there are instances where children are actually taken through child labor, prevented from going to school and all that. And so the Chief of Staff's call that we need a holistic
approach to dealing with it. If you can raise your voice a bit up for me. She says that we need to mobilize resources and look at the whole idea of dealing with kids who are being made to work under hazardous conditions.
Yes, of course. I mean, if instances where children have to support their parents in their vocation or enterprise or farming in most instances, I've heard others argue that that cannot amount to child labor. But like I said, there's no denying that some children are actually put through some work regimes that are not ideal for their age, and as accordingly it's called in the right direction. We should, as a country, have policies that would combat child labor in this country.
All right, and I'm grateful, Kwame. And this is the time the Nkyereboase needs more support, particularly the fact that kids have been left behind. Some we're told are not being fed at all. Some are going through all kinds of trauma because their parents have left them there.
Look, this issue is this is the flip side of the sad story that emerged from the Nkyereboase. I can imagine how anybody feels hearing the Nkyereboase, but we must all understand the vast majority of the citizens of the Nkyereboase are law-abiding. They probably were at home. They never even saw what happened. Probably they all got to hear about it from the news or other things. But unfortunately, the whole name of the Nkyereboase appears as if it was a whole town planning to do this and other things. And I think it is important for us to separate, like my colleague have just said, the miscreant, the bad people, the evil people who meted out this dastardly act from the law-abiding people. My brother, I don't expect any child to become a collateral damage in this unfortunate situation. I am grateful to the NGOs and all organizations who are paying attention to one side that maybe many people may ignore. It will be a bigger disaster to leave children who ought to be in school to fend for themselves because of this situation, because it will even be a bigger disaster in the future if that continues. So I think the ministry responsible can work with NGOs to ensure that these children can go to school. I think we all congratulate the military and the police for the way they conducted themselves so far in this matter. I think another phase that we are entering now is the phase where there should be education. Maybe periodically the military and other things should go to the town and tell people, look, we are not after everybody. We are only after suspects. So if you believe you are not or didn't play a role, there's no reason for you to be hiding anywhere. Come back home and take care of what you are doing. It's farming season. Don't forget it. That area is also a farming area. If they run away from their farms and other things, who is going to produce the food they're going to eat? So we should encourage them, educate them, come back home. If you are not part of the people who did anything, there's no way you will be implicated if you didn't take part, because the good thing is we had enough videos and pictures and other things. So the police know who they are looking for. If you didn't take a part, there's nothing to run away about. But my brother said something quite very important. I am sure when I was growing up, my father likes farming. He's taken me to the farm so many times, and I tried my hands on things, the way farming goes. I don't consider that as my father trying to use me as a necessary labor on the farm. If my mother was a baker and I come back from school and I need to help in a way, maybe not necessarily going to the oven. And indeed, why do people think parents are so stupid? If my mother knows that I'm not capable of working in the oven, she's not going to send me to go near the oven because she loves me and other things. So I think we need to give some credit to parents to understand that some of the things they get, if your father is a cocoa farm, my brother, are you saying that because he loves you so much, you are not supposed to go near a cocoa farm until you are what, 18 and other things? Let's distinguish between what is, and I've seen, even in the UK, I've seen children going around after school during holidays selling newspapers. Those children are not 18 or anything. Is that not child labor? But you see, some NGOs, and let me say this quite clearly because there's evidence, some NGOs are milking their donors dry in this country by pretending they have a catch of information about children. Not too long ago, one of our colleagues in Parliament have to deal with a situation where some NGO went to a part of Volta region and arrested a lot of children, put them in incarceration, pretending that they are NGOs and that these people are being rescued and somebody is coming to take care of them. You go there for 1 week. These children have been growing all this while being looked after by their parents. You go and lock them up. For this MP to be traveling between her constituency and the regional capital day and night, I'm not even sure if that issue is resolved. So not that I am supporting any child from being abused or giving unsafe task to a child or anybody, but I'm saying that let's look into these issues. I don't think my father or my mother taking me to look at what he does or at a bakery and other things per se is equal to a child labor, because believe me, that cannot be a description of child labor. And NGOs work a lot, but I'm afraid some of them, I'm saying, are milking their donors dry by pretending that everything that happens in this country, if your father is a fisherman, the only way you travel between your home and the school is to sit in a canoe. Right. I am sure if those NGOs saw you in a canoe, they would have gone to say that your father is using you as a child labor. I know of instances where children have been prevented from going to school to become fisher children or fisher kids. I don't know what to call them. That is not acceptable. We should stop those ones. But a blanket statement of any child trying to seen around a task as being used as a child labor, I think is a dangerous one.
All right, I'm grateful. But let's tie that in with the story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. 12 on police wanted list for their alleged roles in the murder of Major Mahama. We're asking that we go back to the Boase and help them to get back their life. But Honorable Mesa, how do we also then, how should the community help in tracing these persons whom the police are saying are on the run?
Well, of course, these are people who've lived with them all these years, and natural inclination would be to protect them But it behoves on the community itself, if it really wishes to purge itself of this tag, to assist the police in this regard. I'm glad that at least some wanted list has come out. It tells you clearly that some serious investigation is going on. And in spite of all the people who have been arrested, put before court and remanded, there's still some wanted list out there that tells you, that is really comforting for me, that the police are really working. And I'm very positive that they will fish them out and bring them to justice in due course.
I see. Now, if these persons, Kwame, the 12 of them, were told, the police said some of them were even holding guns, and in the video that the police has and is looking at, some of them were holding guns. So we come back to the situation where these guns are in a private hands. We don't know whether they're registered or not. But if a community like Asiedu-Dartey have people with guns, could members of the community have in any way alerted the police about these persons who perhaps have guns and live in that community? Is it a responsibility that perhaps the ordinary Ghanaian is not doing?
Well, I'll take it from where my colleague just said, which he said something which is quite, I think the police have always been looking for that. That we have a situation where the entire name or neighborhood of Asiedu-Dartey is being dragged into a mud right now. Using his word, they can purge themselves by identify the miscreants amongst them and handing them over to the police. Indeed, in every community, everybody knows who the naughty guys are. So, and I'm sure the people of Asiedu-Dartey are better off telling the police who were the people involved. They can do it better than you and I because they live in the town. The issue about owning guns, you see, I'm not sure whether it is to be said that when you have a legitimate gun, you can't use it to do a bad thing. Indeed, the law says you cannot own a firearm in this country without authorization by the police. So it doesn't matter whether the gun is legal or illegal. What they did, even if it were to be a legally acquired gun, was an act of illegality. That must be put aside. But I think that these people, and for me, you see, sometimes it is not always about take me to court or take him to court or the law will take its course. It's also what comes when people go to court. When you have a situation where people think that if I go to court, you are stronger than me, you can manipulate the court system and get away with murder, with impunity, it leads to people taking the law into their own hands. We hope, with all that we've seen...
Is that justifiable?
Well, I mean, it's human nature. Believe me, it's easy for you and I to sit here and say that everybody who's been wronged should go to the police or other things. But I'm sure if somebody grows cassava and sees an individual bigger than him, stronger than him, going to steal the cassava one every day, he goes to report to the police arrest him and leave him. Will you be surprised one day if he acts on his farm in protection of his farm? I'm saying
this will still be against the law.
Of course, but I mean, there's something called self-defense. If anybody entered your bedroom with a gun, I'm sure if you punch him in the face or you attack him, I'm sure the law would have a different view of you if you were to go and attack that person on the street. So these 12 people, we are praying that will not result into the usual things we get, which is we haven't got enough evidence, let them go, or pat them in the back. Ghanaians and indeed the whole world is looking to see proper trial, conviction,
but they have not even been
proper
arrested.
Punishment, because not too long ago, and
these guys are unwanted.
It's not too long ago, and I'll keep saying it. When you have a situation when somebody sits on a radio and speaks by heart, recognizes he's by heart talking, apologized openly, yet he was taken to court, jailed, he served a sentence, fined, he paid a fine, and then you have another group openly go attack a court, known to everybody, were arrested and let go because we don't have enough evidence, fined with a paltry sum of money. Aren't you telling people that what you need to do is to be a lot or to belong to a stronger group so that you can get away with anything. Nobody in this country can tell me that we cannot draw a correlation between the Muntie 3 and then the people who attacked the court in Kumasi, because as an ordinary person, don't forget this constitution was written by somebody, if I borrow Professor Atuguba's this thing, was written by, how do you call it, fishermen, nice oil carriers and everything. They have sense, that's why they wrote the law like that. So if the people interpreting the law think they know better and leave the miscreant alone, that would not lead to peace in this country. I'm saying this 12, and whoever will be added, we are praying the police set example. I'm not saying they don't set a good example. We want to see proper punishment, because this one, videos, faces, pictures exist. It will be a great injustice to the military, to the family of Major Mahama and the people like him who died in such circumstances, if this one will also lead to a drawn-out case that leads to nowhere. We want justice in this country. We want it now.
I'm grateful. Honorable Minister, let's continue with the finder this morning. The Deputy Interior Minister is talking about this thing. We're still staying around this Denchira-Boase thing because he has promised that government will ensure that mob justice is thoroughly and impartially investigated, the perpetrators arrested and put before the court in a timely manner. Government, he said, would also improve police coverage and effectiveness in responding to crime in areas where mob justice is more prevalent. Again, Mr. Quartey stressed that government is very much committed to equipping the police service with the tools needed to effectively deal with the menace. He was speaking in Accra yesterday at a press conference. The police service in executing their job, we've always had them in some difficulty in terms of equipment, in terms of personnel. This assurance that they will be supported, how hopeful should we be?
Oh, I think we should be very hopeful. I mean, these are very comforting words from the Deputy Minister of Interior. It's the duty of government to ensure that we all live in a safe environment. Of course, you heard my brother putting the blame squarely on the president and calling on him to act. The minister has responded adequately. Whatever is required to ensure that the police are well equipped to carry out their duties as mandated by law. Government is ready and willing and definitely going to make those resources available. And I think it's very reassuring. It's unfortunate that, as always, they draw parallels between Muntie 3 and the persons who attacked the court. And I have condemned roundly the persons who attacked the court. At least I'm glad that people did not line up and sign petitions asking that these people be set free, unlike they did in the Muntie 3 case. Look, let's be sincere with ourselves. I mean, I think and I still hope that the police will conduct a thorough investigation to make sure that the people who attacked the court are brought to book. But the circumstances that led to the release of the persons who were charged is clear. The police's own docket that they submitted to the Attorney General clearly, per the facts and the evidence, could not support a conviction against the persons who were arrested and put before court. In those circumstances, what do you do? So the Attorney General's advice, or the official of the Attorney General's department advice, that this docket, you cannot sustain a conviction against these persons, was right. This is not the first time in the history of this country where the Attorney General has provided advice to the police to drop charges against particular individuals who have been arrested. Yet, my brothers in the NDC, because they always want to score political points, would insist that it was a deliberate act to release these persons, when you know very well that that's not what happened. You know, so let's be sincere, let's be candid. I mean, everybody wants a situation where the law works and people who offend the law are brought to book. The politics will do. There are plenty issues that we can politic over. But when it comes to some matters that we all know that clear black as opposed to white, let's say so. And encourage our security agencies to do their work. It's admonition that was given to us by the former US President Barack Obama. We should encourage our institutions, build up our institutions, and stop the politics over every issue. I think that the Deputy Minister has said it all. It's a duty of government to do what he has to do. And I think that very comforting words from him. And I applaud them and hope and wish that these resources that they have indicated will be available to police to fight all manner of injustice on our streets is carried out as expeditiously as possible.
I'm grateful. Kwame, Honorable Mensah thinks that this words from the Interior Ministry very assuring as far as protecting people from mob injustice is concerned.
Well, I must say the Deputy Minister is a very good friend of mine. I believe he's got his heart at the right place in terms of his portfolio. He intends to do whatever he can to support his minister and the government to ensure peace and security. Unfortunately, it is not what he says per se. We have had his boss, we have had the vice president, we have had the president talk about things, and that did not even amount to stabilization of security in this country alone. It's actually getting worse. So much as Honorable Henry's heart will be at the right place and he would have wished to do good things, unfortunately, I'm not sure if that will be the end of it. I would say that I'm a fan of the police. I believe any resource given to the police, any way we can make the security agencies much more resourceful, the better for us as a country. That's why I was happy when in about 2014, 2015, government increased the police numbers to about 33,000, when government had provided over 1,500 vehicles around the same period instead of just about 500 in 2001. You can see the difference. 2001, 500 and something, and then in 2014, 2015, over 1,500, various levels of high performance vehicles where they provided better communication gadgets, everything, where police are better paid. Their pays were enhanced under the single spine, where we have a situation where we do know that the police housing schemes are not the best. The police barracks and other things are not the best. The government has started some program of building some houses for them. Some of them have been handed over to the BNI and other things. All these things would help to improve the condition of the police, which we intend help us do this. When my brother was speaking initially, he says that the police or whoever did the investigation did not find the evidence to prosecute or to deal with the miscreant at Kumasi. So does that not get to the point I'm saying that it's the same police who are going to do the investigation at Denchabuasi? So if I'm saying that we don't want that situation where they will turn around and say they don't have enough evidence, these people should go, they should do a better job. That is all I'm saying. But you see, reading the budget that the police got, I didn't see a significant chunk of that budget that tells me that there's going to be any specific enhanced transformation on this on the police. I didn't see anything in that budget that tells me the number of vehicles that are going to be procured. I didn't see anything in that budget that tells me how they are going to up the police numbers. As I speak to you, my district is one of the new district created recently, and we're still fighting. We have, in fact, by ourselves, we prepared a police station not built by government. The community built their own police station, the bungalows and everything. And I'm hopeful that government would give us a district police command, because that would fit into the vision of what the minister is saying, that they want the police numbers and everything. So I'm basically saying that the police are here to work with us. The minister's statement is comforting, but it shouldn't stop there. We want to see that translate into security everywhere. And the fear is the budget we have got now.
I think it is inadequate.
I haven't seen. I can see a situation where I can't even hear when the next batch of police are going to be recruited to up the numbers. I can see too many police people doing dispatch riding in Accra. Some of them would have been helping in Adaklu. It appears somebody is saying that in front of every minister or deputy minister's car, especially those in Tama, is a police dispatch rider. All of a sudden, and I'm sure those will be better served. In this country, if they were in Adaklu and co.
Having listened to him and all the things that he claims the NDC did, increasing police numbers to 33,000, providing 1,500 vehicles, providing better pay and all that. Yes, I was hoping that he would have concluded that by virtue of all these, the problems of insecurity have ceased.
It's about leadership.
Clearly, it tells you.
Nanado says leadership makes a difference. So it's about the leadership of the police.
It tells you that these things are not events. It's a process. You have been responsible for managing this country for the past 8 years. Yet you expect that a new group of people who came in 6 months ago will resolve all the problems that you failed to resolve in 8 years in 6 months. How realistic is that? But we are undeterred. I think that the right steps are being taken. The deputy minister has clearly indicated the direction. Of course, it was not the expectation, and I've not seen any budget that spells out in detail the number of police personnel who are going to be recruited in every particular year, the type of vehicles and number of vehicles.
Not like that.
But you said you didn't see details.
There are broad headlines.
Yes, of course.
At the committee and the report, normally, you probably noticed, in ministries and agencies' budget.
You mean the allocation to
the
police?
Yes, the ministry, when they table their report for confirmation, normally they will tell you what they did in the previous year, what they want to focus on in the coming year. So if recruitment is a major part of what they want to do on updating of equipment, normally it appears.
Madam Minister, please go on.
And of course, you cannot confirm that this was not contained in the Committee for Interior's report as we sit here, because of course we all know that the levels of policing, in terms of police
to public number,
to citizen ratio, is way below the acceptable best practice, and so necessarily the police recruitment would consistently be done. And of course it goes to confirm, like I said earlier, that the words from the minister are clearly comforting, and let's give it time for us to see how these are manifested, and we can do a proper evaluation at that point.
All right. Let's quickly go through some of the text messages that have come in. Johnny is quickly trying to pick some of them. We'll quickly touch on this story. Depart from mindset of aid. Akufo-Addo tells African leaders. But Johnny, messages?
Absolutely. Thanks, Brighton. It says, I wish to congratulate the entire team of the Black Stars, more especially Captain Asamoah Gyan, who scored his 50th goal for Ghana for Chakapama. And I'm Pascal Asmeni from Kaswa. I'm not ashamed when people say my daughter's mother is an albino, but she is the best and I love her. Thank you, Dorcas. I'll always love you no matter what. That's very emotional. And good morning, guys. You're always on point. I really appreciate your effort. Keep it up, guys. Isaac in Trosako. And good morning, New Day. Johnny, you're the Malcolm X the third since I'm the second. Oh, really? You always speak the truth. Thank you very much. Anson from Kufridia says, lawlessness has not just started under His Excellency Nana Ado's time. So tell the NDC MP to stop going that line. And good morning, TV3. Please tell the MPP guy that the Ghanaians are watching them with their eagle eyes. And 2020 is just around the corner. Ismaila Horoya, Ali Nima. Good morning. Thank you all for the good work this morning. Good morning, New Day crew. I'm really enjoying your show. Mob action. Well, I'm not pleased if I can know the penalty for the corporate involved in the action. I hope the media should would come up boldly with the penalties as to assure citizens to avoid being victims. Marvelous Agbenyo from Adidome. And good morning, New Day. Illicit arms in private hands depicts loopholes in our security system. No need to politicize the issue since it will not land us any solutions. The NPP guys should unleash solutions instead of being defensive. Who is in power now and who calls the shots now? In aggregate, the onus falls on the chief, the commander-in-chief, and insecurity now in Ghana is real. He puts it in parentheses. Kwesi Kwarteng in Tema. And I'm Theophilus from Tema. Please, we should get appropriate measures to retrieve such arms from the hands of these people to avoid any crime. And there's nothing wrong with responsible private citizens owning licensed and registered arms for self-defense at home. If the state wants to reduce arms in private hands, then it must provide optimum security to the masses so they wouldn't need to defend themselves. John Obrieboa and Labadi. And always having New Day as my daily breakfast. Thank you. Ghanaians always boasting wait and meet the real opponent, not just wicked bones of Ethiopia. Shia Kotobabi school children would have even scored them. Amagani Amaga Shia Niehu Amagahu Abe Precious from Asham. Obviously, it's not enthused at all. It's like bright. Good morning, Ghana. Congrats to Coach Kwesi Appiah for your tactical selection of players. Has demonstrated a good start on Sunday's match. You can do better when there is that is coupled with prayers, unity, and cooperation among players and the technical team. Thanks, Yado Debris from Bindia. Finally, good morning, Senior Bright. Very, very sad story there. The NGO and other organizations should help these children left behind. But the most part for now is that we need more education. The military and the police should educate the people now. If you didn't take part in this horrible act, why would you have to run? Desmond from Accra said that. Right, that's about it here for the illicit arm conversation. Seems to be generating a lot of controversy out there. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm grateful, Johnny. Let's do a quick reaction to perhaps this story quickly, and then we leave in the studios. The president, in just 2 minutes, we'll deal with this one. The president is asking that we should have a mindset not of aid. That story is captured on page 10. Honourable Minister, briefly in this one, just 1 minute. I mean, we can't continue to rely on aid to develop ourselves.
Yes, but of course that has been very consistent in the president's statements to us as a nation, right from the very day that he swore the oath of office at the Black Star Square. Of course, if you recall, the budget is itself clearly indicated that it's Ghana beyond aid.
Right.
You know, so I saw this as very consistent with his vision of building a country that clearly departs from reliance on aid. You know that a very huge chunk of our budget on a year-by-year basis is supported by donor funding. We are an independent country. We've been independent for the past 60 years. Of course, some of our contemporaries have gone way beyond where we all started. And it's about time that we took the
we use our own resources
and use our own resources to chart the course of the future. And so I was not surprised that when the president had this platform, he re-echoed these same sentiments that clearly is driving his vision for Ghana.
All right. Kwame, briefly on this one.
If you were to give a mark for a leader of a political party or a president who speaks good English, Nana Addo could be at the top of them. But that is about it. Action, nothing. Which steps have the president taken? Which steps have the president taken so far that can tell you and I, not talking about the campaign, which gives you and I hope that we are going to be self-reliant. Go and find out, even the seeds that they are planting for food and other things, are they local? Are they locally sourced? The seeds we are planting, or they are supposed to be planting, this thing, the fertilizer, all those things, are they local? In any case, this is a president who can't even, we are in a controversy of boasting that they borrowed the biggest amount of money within a month, that the whole world is clapping for them, that they are the government that have borrowed more. He's forgotten about that, and he's talking about self-reliance. When you borrow $2.2 billion in a month, is that a sign that you want to be on your own? No, you have. By the time, and you are going to pay in 15 years. So Nana Addo is saying that for the next 15 years, we are going to be tied to somebody's money, and you are telling us that we are supposed to be lecturing other people on how to be self-reliant. All the youth in this country are waiting for the job he promised, which he cannot provide for them. He's on a nice platform talking about people lecturing other people.
I am grateful.
Just seeking good.
Kwame Agboja is a member of parliament for the Ataklu constituency of the Volta region, a member of the NDC. I'm grateful for your time this morning. Honorable Andrew Kofi Ejapa Mesa is a member of parliament for the Sekeni constituency. I'm grateful for your time today this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right.